People don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad bosses.
Just because everyone else is being a jerk doesn't mean you have to be a jerk.
Even Steve Jobs shouldn't have been a jerk. Elon Musk shouldn't be a jerk. Like, just think about how far they would go if they were nice.
Your character is easily determined by what people say when you're not in the room.
It literally doesn't cost you anything extra to be nice and appreciative.
I believe it's expensive to fix your own trauma. You know, here's my trauma, and then I have the right to treat you like garbage.
Are you saying business owners have trauma? I've never heard that before.
Some of us went through addiction. Some of us had terrible parents. Some of us were homeless. So what? So what?
My name's Ryan Knoll. I'm a business coach, entrepreneur, and I'm meeting today with Kedma Ough, one of the smartest people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. She's written books like Target Funding, which is an amazing book about anything you want to know about fundraising. And we go deep today on her new business, leaderslovecode.com, which is all about business owners and leaders leading with love first versus just toxicity, and how leading with love, getting over your own trauma, getting out of your own way really pays dividends in terms of building a company, having a sustainable, nice life, and just saving your own mental well-being. Because let's face it, if you're in the entrepreneurship world, you got some kind of trauma, you got something going on. So we get real, we get deep. Stick around for the conversation. Hang out until the end of the video when Kedma gives us her cheat code for building $1 million company, which has everything to do with how you find your own kryptonite and get out of your own way. A thing that most entrepreneurs don't think they need, but I have yet to meet one that didn't need to do this and to figure out where their own weaknesses were. So if you want to rip out the kryptonite weakness from your Superman body, stay till the end of the video and let's get into it with Kedma. Thanks everybody for jumping on. I'm joined by Kedma Ough today, the founder, CEO, president, grand poobah of leaderslovecode.com. Leaders Love is a great organization that's very much about the loving side of leadership versus the, being a jerk side of leadership, which I feel like so many companies just lean into. Kedma, do you want to give us any more on Leaders Love and kind of what that's about, and I guess why you decided to start Leaders Love?
Well, first of all, I want to just say thank you. I've had the pleasure of knowing Ryan and his work in the world, and I admire him as a coach and as an entrepreneur and as a colleague. And I want to first talk about a story, because everything in life begins and ends with a story. And from there, we can talk about it. I want to bring you back to one of my very, very first jobs. And I remember the moment I was in New York, and from here, I moved to Arizona, which is where you're at. And during that time, I had one of my first official jobs, which was to be a outside salesperson, right? Everybody's like, oh, I think I'm going to talk to Coach Kedma about outside sales. Outside salesperson for an agency that placed laborers in a lot of the businesses that we deal with. The reason I chose to work with them was because they said that not only do they, vet the people coming in, but they do drug testing. I thought, oh, this is cool. So I started selling people, Ryan.
So drug testing was the thing that brought you into this company?
Well, let me tell you what brought me in. Yeah, you're thinking why? Well, one of it is because I liked the idea that they were going a little bit higher than everyone else, and they were guaranteeing that they're not just day laborers, but we're going to do a bigger piece, and we're going to make sure that we drug test for placement. And that did draw me in, because that gave me another push when I was selling, because I'm all about making sure that I have all the features and benefits before I sell. But here's where the clinch.
This was your hook when you're selling,
this was my hook.
Nobody else is drug testing. We got all this stuff going on. This is a good company.
Right? Because I'm a great salesperson, but you can only be as good as what you're selling.
100%. Yeah.
Right? So now you're starting to think, okay, now I know where Kedma's going. Well, I thought this is great until I found out, Ryan, they weren't actually drug testing.
They were just telling people they were drug testing for fun?
Yes. No.
Oh.
Why did I do this? Why did I set up Leaders Love? Because now I'm going to tell you what happened. So I walk into an office, and I'm meeting with basically the CEO. She's a really tough woman. And I said, I have an issue. You have said that we are drug testing these day laborers, and I come to find out we're not drug testing. And she said, Kedma, we don't pay you to think in this office. We pay you
No.
to do. Ryan, God is my witness. We don't pay you to think in this office. We pay you to do. And you know what I did? I
Mm.
handed my resignation.
Smart. Smart. I don't
So,
know. I don't know how many leaders I've met through my career that just kind of have this attitude. I mean, leaders is such a like, yeah, I
right,
don't even know if you could call them that at that point. Like, you're missing such a big opportunity not listening to the feet on the streets, the people that are actually going out and doing the sales. And if they're telling you, like, hey, I'm really using this to sell, the second it comes up, it's like being on a flight and there's turbulence. If the pilot says, hey, there's not going to be any more turbulence, and then there's turbulence, now you don't trust them. It doesn't take a lot
right,
to not trust them. So anything that pilot says for the rest of the flight, like, I'm out, like, I can't
right.
trust you
I'm out.
anymore.
Right.
But it's when you're going through turbulence on a plane, it's really nice when the pilot says, hey, in about 15 minutes, it's going to get a little bumpy. It'll last for about 5 minutes, and then we'll be over it, and the rest of the flight's going to be good. The bumpiness happens, no worries. Because we communicated, we were candid, we were honest. The second they don't tell you, or the second they tell you something that's wrong, it just completely destroys that trust, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So
Man,
all along that, I've spent over close to 25 years of my life helping level up leaders and managers. And I've worked with over 10,000. That's a lot.
yeah.
That's a lot over and over and over and over again. And what I've noticed is
Might be a Guinness World
most
Record, actually.
most people don't lead with love. They lead with fear. They lead
Mhm.
with degrading people.
Yeah.
They lead with removing them if they don't agree with you. I mean, I can go through the list, but I thought, and we can go more into it as we go, but I thought, wow, this sounds like a very different experience. What if you could actually lead with love? Would you have a better outcome? Would you have people want to stay? Would you have people who want to actually, help you build your company? And would they be proud to work for you?
Yeah. And I love the megaphone that you're putting on this because so often, so, I do my business coaching stuff. And I remember one of the people I was coaching got a hold of Walter Isaacson's Elon Musk book.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing happened when that same guy wrote that Steve Jobs book. And in these books, these like billionaires are jerks to everybody that they work for or that works for
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And it's like really, really the wrong lesson to take away. It's not be a jerk to your people. Like these people
Yeah.
made money. A lot of it was really kind of luck based. Like, you're smart, you know how to be an opportunist, sure. But, and even Steve Jobs shouldn't have been a jerk. Elon Musk
Yeah.
shouldn't be a jerk. Like, just think about how far they would go
Right.
if they were nice. But I've gotten so much more in my life by telling people thank you, by appreciating
Exactly.
people, by,
Exactly.
you know, there's this huge piece of, so probably the best way to kind of explain it is a job that I had when I was doing marketing consulting, working for this great agency that was doing marketing automation back when that was a thing. That would be like sending transactional emails and stuff through these like fancy softwares before you could just anybody could just do
Mm-hmm.
that. And we had all these big clients. It was probably the highest paying marketing job I ever had. Really great bonuses, company
Mm-hmm.
trips like every quarter where we go
Wow.
to, deep sea fishing with like 5-star resorts and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Best job I ever had on the books. It was a small company, 30
Mm-hmm.
people in the company. From the time I started to the time I quit, it was 9 months. I was not there for very long. In that time, they had hired and either let go or had quit 15 people. There's a
Wow.
company of 30 people. There's like a
Wow.
50% turnover in less than a year.
Right.
And the reason was that owner of that company didn't lead with love. Like he was very, very hard on
Exactly.
everybody. You had
Exactly.
really, really strict, like he was expecting people to do like 120 hours billable like every week. It was insane. And it would have been so like, you know, when you're doing that, and he had a really hard time with recruitment, right? Because he wasn't able to hang on to anybody. So they were
Right.
constantly trying to fight this battle of where do we find more really high level marketers? And they were just bleeding them
Right.
constantly.
Right.
Uh, yeah, it always shocked me like how long that company survived. But anyway,
And to your point, look, the truth is that you can make millions and billions on the backs of everyone else,
Hmm.
but you could also make millions and billions and lift them up. And so, and I've been in multiple situations. I've been in situations where I've literally helped CEOs build the company. And when it goes to sell, they take me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? I have to say to myself that that's not on me,
Hmm.
right? That's not on me. So just because everyone else is being a jerk doesn't mean you have to be a jerk.
No, no. And when you're in that situation, you've got this rock star person who's helping you build a company, doing all this amazing stuff. Like there's going to be another opportunity where you're going to need another rock star. And guess
Yeah,
who you can't call anymore?
that's right.
But on the other hand, I've seen CEOs who've always taken care of their people. Next time they have this awesome thing they want to do, they're like, "Hey, Kedma, come over here. Like,
That's
check this
right.
out." And then
Yeah,
that becomes $1 billion again.
right.
But you got to take care of people, and people don't grow on trees. There's this. Well, like I do improv comedy,
Yeah.
just as a hobby, and one of the really key pieces to this, when you have a group that's doing it, is building chemistry
Mhm.
between the people.
Yeah.
And there's this huge parallel with business. Like you have to have chemistry with your top executives. And if you can build a company culture where everybody kind of has that same chemistry from top to bottom, you can have a really, really successful company very easily.
Yeah.
But if you find chemistry with these people and then you just throw them to the wolves, or you take the 10 years to build chemistry over developing this company and then they just never want to work with you again, you're throwing a lot more out the window besides just it's a human being, but also like good luck trying to find that person again. It just takes so
And
long.
I agree with you. And one thing I simplify life by saying, we don't have to spend months reading a lot of books on this. And this is what I always say. Your character is easily determined by what people say when you're not in the room.
Hmm.
And how many times I've been in big corporations or big government agencies or nonprofits,
Yeah.
and the person who has the title or the position or the clout, I'm going to find out very quickly how people perceive them when they're not in the room. It's unbelievable how quick, because I'm a turnaround consultant. When I'm doing turnaround consulting, I go into a company. Typically, just for the audience to know, a turnaround consultant is a trained consultant who goes into hostile situations, which could include a large amount of people complaining to the Department of Labor, which could include,
Yeah.
unionize or picketing, which could, right?
Yeah.
And inevitably, over and over again, when we have these little focus groups, it doesn't take long to find out the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Very quickly. Right.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that how you show up is going to carry with you in all situations, and people talk.
Yeah.
So then my question is, why start there? Why can we improve as ourselves and lead differently?
It's such a great insight because it literally doesn't cost you anything extra to be nice and appreciative and to approach people with a sense of empathy. Like, how would
Mm-hmm.
they react to this? How it's going to make them feel good? It
Mm-hmm.
is literally free. And I remember I've been in situations where, maybe a group that I was with was looking at hiring a consultant, and somebody in the room said, "I didn't like the way that person talked to me last
Oh yeah,
conference that we were at," or they
yeah,
were hitting
yeah,
on me in a conference and I found it very disrespectful. And it's like, okay, now everybody in the room is like, I don't want to talk to that
exactly,
person anymore. You know?
exactly. And that's what we call influence. And if
Mhm.
you cannot build on the power of influence, you're going to have a hard time building. You'll get it, but people,
Sure.
right? But it will be a lot harder, or it'll cost you a lot more,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So leading with love is free. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you don't do it, you're putting it on hard mode for yourself for no reason, right?
Well, let me ask you a question, Ryan, because we've
Sure.
known each other for a long time.
Hmm.
I want you to go back in time. Maybe it's a couple of days, couple of weeks, or a couple of months. Have there been moments where you did not want to do something, let's say business wise, but you did it because of me?
Oh,
You did
yeah.
it because you respect me. True or not true?
No, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of one particular conversation where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And you're like, yeah, but what about this? And I was like, you know what? Since it's you asking, I'll take care of it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Whatever it
And
is.
that's because we've built that respectful
Right.
influence and relationship.
Right. Right. Absolutely free to be nice and to give people the time
Yeah.
of day and, whatever. And I don't know, it always comes back tenfold. Like if we just want to look at it from a completely um, selfish standpoint, if we want to look at it from a completely selfish standpoint, I feel like you make money back, you know, giving somebody an hour of your time to talk about, whatever my specialty is. Like I know you
Yeah.
called me because you need help with search engine optimization or
Yeah.
something that I know a
Yeah.
lot about. Doesn't cost me a lot to just spend some time with you. And a lot of times it's helpful for me because I kind of get to think through some of the questions you're asking. And that sort of helps me sort of solidify some ideas in my brain. Doesn't cost me much, but now we have a way stronger relationship. I feel good for doing it. And, I guarantee at some point I'm going to need something. I could just say, I think Kedma might be able to help me with this. And because we have a good relationship, it'll just happen.
So let me just two things. One is for the people who are listening who are very metrics based, so we can go to the high C's if you follow DISC.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that it's more than feel good. I can prove the metrics. When I started my residential cleaning company less than a year ago, you know what I was told, Ryan? High turnover. Nobody's going to last. Nobody's going to be loyal. I literally heard this from everyone I spoke to. And you know what I said? Not in my company.
Yeah.
I said, not in my company. And I can prove that. You can go into my company and look at, well, why are they staying now? 6 months, 7, we're under a year. Why are they staying? Right? Yeah. And it's not that I'm giving them the highest pay because I wish I could. We're still growing.
Sure.
But we're staying for what we're talking about. Do you have authenticity? Can you speak to the values and show up? Are you there when they need you and when things are hard? You can prove because you can see trajectory, how many times people leave and what it costs the company, and say, you know what, if I change myself and how I show up, does that increase retention?
Right.
So right. I don't know.
Well, it's that old saying, right? People don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad bosses.
Yes.
I find it true. So, I mean, there's, before I became an entrepreneur, I worked like every job ever. I was bussing tables and making pizzas and, doing whatever. And so often I would just, half the time, if the job was fun, like some of the lowest paying jobs I ever worked, I stayed at for like a year or 2 years because it was just fun. The people were fun. I had friends there. Nobody gave me shit, and I just could do my thing and be happy, and felt like I was getting listened to and heard, and that makes it worth it. So, I mean, there's your ROI right there. You can get, not to be like cynical about it, but you don't have to pay people $1 million if, you can just treat them with respect. Like you look at these, like software engineers have to put up with this a lot. And, this is a culture that should get fixed. But if you're working on a really cool video game, those programmers get paid like 50, 60K. If you're working on some government database, you get paid $250,000.
Yeah.
One of these is a terrible job filled with a lot of bureaucracy. And the other is like, I get to work on something fun that I enjoy and I'm passionate about. It's a completely different dynamic. And that's sort of the same thing. You could have a really boring government contract that you're fulfilling on with your programmers, but you can make it a fun place to work.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm, and there's so much we could talk about, but I just want to make sure that it's not woo-woo. There is actually data that shows. In fact, if you want to really follow up, for anybody who's into the data, there is a amazing report that happens every year that basically interviews 250,000 employees who left their company, and they asked them, why did you leave? And people who are not privy to understanding the thing, they left for money. They didn't leave for money. Number one reason they left, they didn't see a place for them long term. That's the number reason. They didn't have a career path. They didn't see where can they show up. So like even in my own residential, we create a pathway.
Yeah.
You want to go from lead to manager? We have it. Manager to director? We have it. Director to ownership? We have it.
Well, and that's such a great. I was literally just having this conversation over a cup of coffee with a friend of mine, who was talking about this tattoo shop where, in the tattoo world, it's all about the artists, and they
Mm-hmm.
are kind of what bring the customers in. So they have these people that are working there as apprentices who basically get paid nothing. And
Right.
from what he was recounting for me, these apprentices are just really strung along, which is completely the wrong thing to
Ah,
do. And like, oh yeah, you're going to be
yeah.
an artist one
Right.
day, and we got to do this. And like, oh, but then the celebrity comes to town and they're taking the chair, so you can't be the artist
Right.
anymore. You got to wait now, and now they're waiting, and they're just in this purgatory for forever, which is such a poor leadership
Yeah.
thing to do.
Right.
So for your company, you're actually outlining,
Oh,
here's,
already.
if you want to go from here to
Absolutely.
here, this is how you do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's free. And it's a better way to run a company. You don't have to be mean to people or to string them along. And I've run into so many companies that do this where it's like, what that employee wants this thing, or they believe this thing that you told them, are they ever going to get it? And you talk to the person who made this promise, whatever it is, and they're like, well, I don't know if it's like, well, okay, I'm reading between the lines here. It doesn't sound like they're ever going to get it. And you can't even tell me. Like, you need to
Yeah.
be clear in your thinking as a leader for what you can give people. And
And
being candid has always been better for me than trying to string people along. I don't know where we got this idea that, well, I want them to believe this thing so that they'll keep working here, but they might be mad at me or leave if I tell them the truth that, oh, yeah,
mhm.
you can be a tattoo artist, but it'll probably take 3 years. I think they would rather know it's going to take 3 years than just get strung along for a year and a half and then quit.
Right. And I want to call out something really important and maybe a different framework I would invite. I don't think it's free, and I'm going to call out what I believe is truth.
Hmm.
I believe it's expensive to fix your own trauma. And your trauma is causing us a lot of problems. I have spent decades improving my trauma. And I am not of the philosophy, because if you know my story, you don't want to be in my story,
Yeah.
because oh, Kedma, you went through trauma. And I don't bring it and say, here's my trauma, and then I have the right to treat you like garbage. Okay? You need to check yourself into therapy, deal
Yeah.
with your damn trauma, and come back and be a better leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, snaps for that. Snaps for that.
Does that make sense? So let's
Yeah.
stop saying it's
Are you
free.
are you saying business owners have trauma? I've never heard that
Yes.
before.
And you know what? They're carrying it like a damn suitcase.
Uh-huh.
We're sick and
Uh-huh.
tired of carrying it with them.
Right. And they're just, hey, I got a company now, so I'm just going to
Oh,
unload all this right here on this company.
some of us went through addiction. Some of us had terrible parents. Some of us were homeless. Whatever.
Yeah.
So what? So what? Now you have to fix it and stop creating more trauma for other people in your life.
Right. Right.
And
I
I
mean,
don't mean to diminish so what. I'm saying I've been in there.
yeah. No, I've been in the same spot, go to therapy, spend a lot of money on it. You're right. It is expensive, but it's so worth it. I think the best thing I've ever done for myself in terms of being a better leader is going to therapy and understanding where I'm at and what I'm coming from. Just a very simple example. One of the first things I had to learn was to figure out my own emotions and why, like, I had a block in trusting my own gut, which is like one of my cheat codes to success, right? Is you got to trust your own gut,
Yeah.
especially when you're hiring. And I made a ton of hiring mistakes because I was like, oh, that person seemed a little off. I don't know why they
Right.
seemed off. I can't logic it away, but I need to trust my emotions, but I can't because there's this block here that I need to go to therapy
Yeah.
for. So I'm just going to hire them anyway. And then looking back, it's like, oh, I should have listened to myself. Why do I not trust my own self? And this is just like
That's right.
something that I encountered as a business owner, has nothing to do with business, but has everything to do with business, right?
Has everything to do with business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
you are personally interacting. And if I hear one more wannabe successful person say business is not personal, I'm going to grab them and just take them down. Everything is personal in business. The relationships you form, the doors that open up, decisions for people to want to work with you, it's all personal.
I think one One of the best books I ever read helping me with business was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale.
Love that book. Love that
Old.
book.
This book's like 100 years old, but it's still works. It's still
Right.
relevant, and it's still true to this day. Like, even if you're not owning a business, if you're working for somebody else, you will make more money if you're likable than if you're qualified.
Exactly.
And that's just the truth.
Exactly. That's the truth. And Ryan, as I say this, for people who are like, oh, I don't know. I don't know this woman. What does she know? She's had a great life. You know how many times people think I have a great life? Do you know how
All
many
the time.
times all the time?
Yeah,
Because
and I
here's
know
the
your
thing.
story, so
Yeah, it takes 45 to 60 seconds for you to make a first impression. So usually I hear you know what I heard last week?
mm.
You sound like you're stereotypical. That was they thought before they met with me. They didn't know
Oh,
me, right? But they're like, we just think you're more stereotypical. Someone's like, oh, we think that you went to a posh like high school and college, and I was like,
yeah.
wow, wow. So here's what I
Well,
want
I
to do
will
is
say you're the most stereotypical person I know for somebody who gets on stage at their TED Talk with a cape.
that's right. Yeah, if you don't see, yeah, I have capes. I love wearing capes. But if I was to get real quickly, and then we'll kick it back, is look, I have every reason to be the worst leader ever. Right. I grew up in a horrific environment. I was on my own in hiding for 5 years. I've gone bankrupt and I'm a recovering addict, right? Sober
And
30 years. I can give you so many reasons I should be a jerk, right?
yeah,
So I am not going to bring my baggage to you in our relationship. I've got to fix that.
yeah. I mean, you really have to. Well, I think that's a piece that so many people miss when they come into business coaching. Like, you're looking for a coach, you want to talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people start at the place of, tell me how to do this thing in business. And what it really
Yeah.
turns into is, teach me how to get out of my own way, teach me how to balance my own trauma with running a
Yes.
business and find that balance. And that's universally more important than, you can go anywhere and learn how to run a business. Like, anything you want to do, you can just Google or go
Right.
on YouTube and find. But that piece is the piece that so many people miss when they
Right.
um, come into coaching is,
Right.
hey, my job really is to teach you how to love yourself, which is
That's
why
right.
I resonate so much with with the Leaders Love brand that you're building. Such a great thing. So,
Well,
uh,
because most people, I don't think, love themselves, and therefore they can't really love others, right? So you have to fill your cup. We see this a lot with women business owners I work with. They
mhm,
give, they give, they give. And I go, look, in life, you have givers and you have takers. The taker's job is to take.
mhm,
Don't get upset with them. That's what they've been hired to take from you. They take, they take, they take, but you have to be able to give what you have available, not give everything from what you have.
yeah.
Right. So, there's so much we can unpack, but I would say love yourself first, figure that out, and then you can love others deeper without having to starve yourself.
Well, I think we landed on it, because this was going to be my kind of closing question here, which is, what's one cheat code that you could give people starting their business to help them grow or evolve? And it sounds like this is the cheat code, which is, you have to learn how to love yourself first before other people are going to join your company, follow you as a leader, listen to you, stick around in your company for the long
Mm-hmm.
term, become your customer.
I'm going to say the pre-cheat code. Before you even go there, hire a coach or hire someone, hear me out, who's going to be listening to your employees or your contractors when you're not in the room and get to the truth. Do they want to spend time with you?
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah, that's a great cheat code.
you'll learn really quickly what's going on, because they'll tell you the truth. As long as it's a safe space. So if you went in to a company and you're just Ryan and you say, look, I'm here for, what we talk about is confidential. I'm just going to bring notes back. Nobody's name is going to be there, but I want to hear it. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to tell you the truth. As long as they feel like their job is safe, and as long as they feel like it's not going to go back and retaliate,
Yeah,
that's what I would suggest you do.
that's a great cheat code. Yeah, find out
the truth.
the truth. Yeah, what do the people in the company think about you, and then you can start fixing it. I think another way to kind of hone in on a superpower there too, is asking friends,
Yes.
what do you enjoy about being my friend? And they'll usually be like, oh, haha, whatever, joke. And then you're like, no, seriously, why do you like being my friend? What is it about me that you're attracted to in this relationship with us? And you'll be amazed kind of the things that people say about you on the positive side. Hard to
Right.
get negative stuff that way.
But how can we get the
But
negative? How can we get
yeah,
the piece? Like, what is it that, I'm always looking at that though. I'm
yeah.
like, what is,
So that's the trick. You got to have somebody else kind of be your secret shopper.
got to be your secret shopper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to ask your exes. That'd be kind of awkward. Hey, can you give me feedback on why you left me?
I would pay a lot of money for that information, though. To be honest, after some therapy, I know why they left.
I spoke to Coach Kedma, and I'm supposed to be interviewing you. Why did we break up?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think I've done enough therapy that I know why.
Well, we don't want to go that route. So I thought the easiest is to just check in with your employees and see what they say.
Well, I love all that. It's been a wonderful conversation. Is there anything else you want to give us as like a last bit of wisdom?
Yeah, you can check out leadersloveco.com. We just put out a really funny one, and we get funny feedback. But if you go to leadersloveco.com, one of the new shirts I put out is, yes, I'm a leader and I am not a narcissist. And people would be like, people are responding back, well, wait a minute, I'm not a narcissist. Should I wear that? Well, what if I was a narcissist? I'm like, oh my God, this is just a conversation piece.
I'm gonna wear it.
This is just a conversation piece.
I love that.
So anyway.
You're saying so much and so little, which is what I love about the Leaders Love brand is, I'm a leader. I'm not a narcissist. You're literally calling everybody else out for being these, narcissistic. Welcome to entrepreneurship.
I'm really calling everyone else that's a narcissist, but I'm not one.
I love it. I think you're going to get a lot of good conversation starter on that shirt.
It's just a conversation starter.
Wear that to the next conference, and you can make a friend.
And then anything I can do to serve. I always believe in over delivery. So if you're going through something, reach out to Ryan, or obviously you can always connect with me.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you as always. Appreciate you. Love you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Okay.